Hello and welcome to the Inspired Life Summit. This is the place to be to discover how to be, feel, and live an inspired life. I'm Krysti Turznik, motivational speaker, best-selling author, and life coach, helping people to connect more deeply with who they truly are and create a life that speaks to their soul with meaning and value. The Inspired Life Summit is designed to help take your life to the next level as leading experts share their best secrets on how they create and live an inspired life. Today, Reverend Ronnie is with us. Ronnie is an interfaith minister, a strategic business consultant, author, and mediator. She works with budding entrepreneurs to create businesses and nonprofits that fulfill their life's purpose and align with their values. In addition, she speaks on topics related to spiritual diversity and spirituality in the workplace. A wife, mother, and grandmother, she finds peace and harmony at home with her two furry children while snuggling on the couch or on a tropical island. I love all of that. So welcome, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here. And our topic for today is really a super important topic. It's finding meaning and purpose at work. Now, Ronnie, so many people, they wake up every day and they are feeling uninspired, or perhaps they even dread going to work. So why is it so important for us to really find that meaning and purpose in our work?
Well, Krysti, if we start by just taking a look at the number of hours that we spend at work every day, and we do the math, let's actually look at the math for those that are more scientific. If we work 40 hours a week and we work, say, 48 work weeks a year, that's assuming we all take a month vacation, right? And we do that, say, for 45 years, conservatively, saying we start work at age 20, we're looking at over 86,400 hours that are spent at work. Add to that the amount of time that we spend getting ready to go to work, commuting, coming home from work, and we're spending at least a third of our lives wrapped around our work lives. So it's incredibly important that we do find work that gives us that sense of meaning and purpose. Otherwise, we become depressed, we become anxious, we don't really enjoy our life. And we need to remember we get one trip through. So let's make it the best possible life that we can and really enjoy the ride.
Oh, I love that. Definitely. It's so important and inspiring. When you put it in that perspective, it really makes it so important that you discover what it is that you want to do and start to create that for yourselves. So do you have any thoughts on what someone can do if they, for various reasons, are in a career or a job that is not fulfilling them, but they need to be staying at that job? What can they do?
Well, I think we start by understanding first and foremost, what is it that's holding us in that job or in that career to start with? Because if we fell into it, for instance, then maybe the reason why we've just stayed with it is because it's comfortable. And maybe that's enough of a reason for us to want to be motivated to change. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe we are in a situation where we are taking care of a family, we have substantial financial obligations, and so we're in a position that takes care of those things. And so as a result, we feel like we need to stay there a little longer before we can consider making a change. At that time, what we need to do is really take a look at our mindset. We can't necessarily change the actual job right now, but what we can do is we can change how we think about that job, how we come to that job every day, and to understand what it is that we can find within that position, within that daily work that we're doing, that does give us some joy, some happiness, and to really turn how we think about our job around. And so it may start by doing things like taking a look at something very simple, like filing. Let's say we hate doing filing. But the thing about the filing is that it does give us a break. It's not a heavy-duty, mind-draining kind of thing that we need to do. And so actually doing that filing can give us a sense of relief. And maybe that's not the meaning or the purpose, but maybe it is a way that we can say, you know what, today, this is what I need right now. Or the other way we can look at it is we can say, you know, when I do the filing, the thing that I absolutely love about the filing is when the boss comes to me and says, guess what? I need that document. I need it now. I'm in a meeting. The beautiful thing about filing is if you did it, you know exactly where to find that document and you can put your hands on it quickly. And there's a sense of calmness, of feeling like this is a good thing. You know that it's an important document. And now you've just been able to help somebody else by finding that document and satisfying their need. And so if a sense of purpose and meaning in your life is being able to serve others, a simple little thing like that can really make you feel good. And I think that there's looking at things in the short term and in the moment, as well as the long-term things that give you meaning and purpose. And so sometimes what we need to do is find a balance between those things that work for us right now.
Oh, I love all of that. And really, like a lot of what I heard is find the silver lining, like the gold or the meaning in every task that you're doing, because there is importance behind everything. And
yes.
Have you identified, are there particular needs that are being met or that can be met in some of these more mundane tasks? Like, how do people identify those type of meanings?
I think that really starts by having the person spend some time with themselves. It's so critical that we understand what gives us individually meaning and purpose. And it's different for every individual. In some instances, it's being a caretaker. It's providing for our families. For others that maybe don't have that need or have that responsibility, it may be something entirely different. And it may be something that goes back to as simple as saying, I'm capable of taking care of myself, and that's something that's important to me. So it's really about spending time with your own individual self and knowing those things that give you a sense of pride, fulfill you, and why it is that you're actually working.
Oh, I love all of that. Do you have ideas on how we can find joy and contentment when we're working with people who tend to be a little bit more negative?
This can be a real challenge. When we're working with people who are negative, I think one of the things that invariably happens first is we take it all deeply personally. And so we think it's all about us. And when somebody makes an attack and says something incredibly negative, we think that maybe they're right. Maybe it's something that we've done. And especially in a workplace that maybe feels more abusive than we'd like, maybe it's a situation where we have people that are shouting in a workplace and we're not that kind of a person. That the first thing that we need to do is to stay really in our core. And this is where practices such as meditation can be fabulous. And there are so many ways to meditate that you can do meditation and nobody even know you're doing it. And so if you're in a meeting, for instance, that's really stressful, you can take a few deep cleansing breaths and just come back to that core. And so when we have people that are very negative around us, that are pulling us off from what it is that does fulfill us, that does give us that sense of satisfaction, let's start by coming back to our core self and being fully present in that happy place within ourselves. And then I think the next thing to remember is that a lot of times when these things are coming at us, it's not about us at all. It's about the person who's actually saying these things. And that can actually come from a place of inner woundedness within themselves. And so if we can feel a sense of compassion for them, a sense of understanding that we all have things within ourselves, and maybe give that person a little more berth, and just say, you know, I'm really sorry that you're feeling that way today. and maybe help them to also see that this is something that can change. It can be fluid. By saying something like, this is something that you see today, it means that you're not necessarily doing a full frontal attack on them either. It's just saying, look, right now, this is something that I'm noticing, and maybe you can notice it as well, and we can change that up and have a better day or a better afternoon.
Oh, I love that. So you talked a little bit about meditation. Do you have like favorite tools for someone to utilize at work to help them stay focused on their meaning and their purpose?
There are so many ways to do that. And it, again, goes to the individual. We are all unique human beings, and that's the beautiful thing about it. Meditation is a fabulous way to do that. It does keep you fully focused on the why you're here, what your soul contract may be, if you believe in soul contracts. And then from there, to surround yourself with those kinds of things that are constant reminders for you of what your meaning and purpose is. As you can see behind me, I love the beach. I love the tropics. And so for me, one of the things that gives me that reminder of my purpose and meaning is by having that behind me. Whenever I turn around, whenever I get up, I see that. And no, you may not be able to put a curtain up in your office, but maybe what you can do is you can have photographs, and maybe it's photographs of places you've been, you love to travel, it's part of your purpose. That can be a beautiful thing. Maybe it's your family members. Family members on your desk are great reminders on a regular basis. It could be something else. It doesn't have to be a photograph. It could be a stuffed animal. It could be something, anything that reminds you, a seashell. But have those kinds of things that surround you, that remind you of what your purpose and meaning is. If it's servitude, is there something that can just give you a key that maybe nobody else even knows what it is? Maybe it's this funny little fork that sits on your desk. A fork reminds you about servitude. Whatever it is, just find that way that you can remind yourself.
I love that. Constant reminders, right? To help you stay focused.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Absolutely. So what are some of the ways then that people can express what brings them meaning and purpose in the work that they're doing?
There are a lot of ways that we can. Sometimes when we're looking at how to express it, when we're staying in that particular job, the way that we express it can be by doing it in ways that are not necessarily so overt to other people. But if it's important to us that we have a sense of servitude, then what we do is, maybe it's very simple. We try to do that more frequently. We find little ways to do that for people. It could be that if servitude is our thing, we ask other people, how can I help you? And by doing those little things, we can express them. Servitude is just one of those ways that could be a purpose or meaning, but there may be other things as well. And so it really comes down to doing that initial work to figure out, what is it that brings that sense of meaning and purpose to you in the first place? And then it's easy enough to come up with the ways on how to express those with other people.
Right. So it sounds then like you are definitely encouraging people to really dive deep into understanding more about who it is that they are, what lights them up, so they can connect more deeply to their purpose and that meaning that they're having every day.
It really starts there, because we have to have an understanding of who we are first and what it is that motivates us, so that we can continue to motivate ourselves. I think sometimes we look for others to be doing that, and it's really our job. And in workplaces these days, human resource people have even less time to be trying to find ways to motivate a staff. So it really is up to us. And we can do that. And I think sometimes by doing it for ourselves, that gets noticed, and that can help us to get promoted. Our bosses appreciate it. They don't have to look for those kinds of things. And ultimately, it could end up being something that gets written into a letter of recommendation. And that is always a good thing, especially if you have decided that staying where you are right now is okay for now, but it's not your long-term goal. So then what we want to be doing is creating those things that others might see in us, where we are expressing our purpose and what gives us meaning, so that when they start to write those letters of recommendation, those testimonials for us, they start bringing those things up rather than you having to say them. Because we all know that if somebody else says it, it's gold. If we say it, it's debatable.
I love that, definitely. So now I'd like to learn a little bit more about you. You have a really wonderful background. Has there been a defining moment in your life that has really shaped the course of how you live your life, and how has it changed everything that you're experiencing?
I had a very unusual experience that I hope many people don't ever have to go through. I grew up in a family where my father was in sales. It was almost like I learned it through osmosis. And so by the time I was 20, that had grown into a full-blown business. And so prior to 1999, that was really the course of what I did. I did sales and marketing and public relations, and I helped other people start up their own businesses, and then helped them to run those businesses. And then what happened for me was in 1999, one day, I was getting ready to give a speech that morning, and I went into my laundry room to pull my clothes out of the dryer. And at that exact moment that I was holding the door open to pull some clothes out, I was literally struck by a bolt of lightning.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
It hit the dryer vent on the outside of the house. It came down through the coil into the back of the dryer and up through my knees and threw me back. And I remember looking down and wiggling my fingers, and my initial thought was, well, I'm still here. But what happened for me was, after that, I had a real sense that things needed to shift in me, that I was not doing what I was here to do, and that it was time for me to really start to take a look at that. And I found that my intuition also came to the forefront. I started having dreams that were telling me where I was going to go, what I needed to do next. And it was at that point that I realized that the message that I had been delivering on the stage was going to change, and that what I was going to actually be doing was going to be changing, that it was time now for me to really dig in and do why I was here. I sincerely hope no one else ever needs a bolt of lightning to find that. But part of what came out of that was to help other people find those things that really are their senses of purpose and meaning. And then to be able to express their own spirituality, which I believe is what that purpose and meaning really is it's our own spiritual selves trying to fulfill those contracts that we have with our divine, and to actually take that and manifest it. And so for me now, what I do is just that, whether it's helping people to do it in their jobs and find out what that sense of meaning and purpose is and then to express it, or whether it's to actually say, you know what, I don't necessarily want to be doing that in a job working for somebody else. I have an incredible idea. I want to bring that to fruition. And so maybe now is the time for them to consider the possibility of a side hustle while they're doing something currently that pays their bills. Or maybe it's to say, you know what, I don't have time to waste. I'm going to start my own company. I'm going to do it right now. And it may have a nonprofit to attach to it. It may actually be a nonprofit, or it may be something where it's a full-blown regular style of business, but there is a giving arm to it. There is a percentage of profits that maybe is donated to a cause that's incredibly important to you. It's whatever that looks like. And so it's really about helping people to fulfill those spiritual gifts and the reasons why they actually are here.
I love all of that. So important. And I'm curious, what brings you a sense of purpose and meaning?
Well, it's, for me, it always started out by helping other people achieve their dreams. And when I had my sales company, that was literally my company's motto, was helping other people achieve their dreams. And now it's really kind of grown into a few other things. Now it's about helping other people to express their own spirituality in their life. It's also by helping people to come together, to be able to find peace and joy with each other, and to create the sense of helping people to resolve spiritual conflict, whether it's within themselves or it's with others in a workplace. And then even more deeply, I think it's knowing that I'm doing what the divine is asking me to do. And I think for me, even a couple of years ago, when I was not living up to what I was here to do and I was working for others, I found there was a real sense of depression and anxiety that I was having working for others. And it really came down to knowing that I wasn't fulfilling my contract. So for me, that's the biggest thing. If I clear away everything else, that's what it's really about for me, is doing what I'm here to do.
Yeah, and that's absolutely what it comes down to, is really stepping into the best and the truest version of who you are here and what it is that you're meant to be doing. So I love hearing that. Now, do you have a book that you would recommend to people watching that really helps you to live that inspired life?
There is. And when I was going through school after I was struck by lightning, my path took me on a road where my undergrad degree really is around spiritual and emotional development. And so I started to study a lot of different world religions. And one of them that I found was the Sufi path, which is really just a mystical belief that the divine exists in everyone and everything. And there was a gentleman in the early 1900s that brought Sufism to the West, and his name was Hazrat Inayat Khan. And Hazrat Inayat Khan was a man who came here actually from Suresnes, France. His background, though, is that he was the son of a spiritual leader in India who used to have discussions with spiritual directors from all around the world. And as a small child, Hazrat was allowed to hide behind his father's chair and listen to these conversations. And so there was a wealth of information that he gained. And this book that I recommend is called The Art of Personality. And what I really love about the book is that it talks about our continuous need to mold ourselves, and that this is something that is a lifelong journey. It's about healing our emotional and spiritual wounds. And it's also about recreating ourselves to be our best selves, and that it is truly a lifelong journey.
Oh, I love that. I hadn't heard of that, so I'll definitely have to take a look at that. Thanks for sharing. Now, if you could give people one last piece of advice, what would that be?
Seek your bliss.
Love that.
It is so incredibly important. We have, as I said early on, we have one life, one trip through. Let's make it the best one that we can. Time is way too short and way too precious. Hug those that you love. Never leave them without saying that you love them.
Oh, such great advice. I love that. Thank you so much, Ronnie, for sharing all of this really great wisdom and advice and these secrets today. So how can people get in touch with you?
There's several ways. If someone would like to just pick up the phone right away and just not waste any time, the best way to do it is to call me at 715-833-9666. If you'd like more information off my websites, there's ronnieroll.com. That's the easiest way. Another one would be spiritatwork.us.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. And those links are also going to be available on the Inspired Life Summit webpage, along with the free gift that you are offering. So it's definitely easy to see that finding meaning and purpose in the work that you do really can help you to live that joyful and inspired life. So thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Krysti. Thank you.
Absolutely. So this is Krysti Turznik reminding you to live every day like it's a day at the beach. Take care.